A very good storyteller, good at creating suspenses. You know, the Three Idiots could keep people awake. You know, there was not a single audience stood up, left his seat, and went to the toilet. I was told there was quite a bit of phenomenon.
But I want to know one thing: how did you guys get attracted to that movie?
True, yes.
How did? Because it's a random Indian movie that has come.
Because Hong Kong people, the young generation, have very short attention span. We are used to seeing film clips, you know, on the YouTube of anything less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And your film is nearly 180 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was quite a miracle that
It's quite a miracle.
people got glued to the seats in the cinema auditorium. You know?
That is correct.
So, well, the mystery, the answer is, or the recipe is, you're very good at storytelling.
Thank you. And it's also
And taking this as an example, right? This is from The Three of My Life.
Three Mistakes of My Life.
Right, the three mistakes, yes. Well, it's got a very attractive and really, you know, juicy and sexy opening. Prologue. It is not every day you sit in front of a computer on a Saturday morning and get an email like this. Dear Chetan, this email is a combined suicide note and a confession letter. I have let people down and have no reason to live. You don't know me. Right? That make everyone itch straight away to read all of it. Right?
It is something, they say, grab them by the collar and don't let them go. And even the name of the book,
True, yes.
Three Mistakes of My Life, makes you feel that...
Curious. You want to know which three mistakes.
Yeah.
What
if I wrote
mistake?
3 good things I did in life, nobody will read it. It's ironical, but it's true.
So when you write novels, do you spend a little time in creating an exciting beginning? The first,
That's
they
what
always
they
say.
say.
First paragraph is most important.
Well,
just like the first 5 minutes in every James Bond's movie.
Yes, it is important. The opening is important, but I think you also have to hold the attention, because if you make it you can make a great opening paragraph, but it's also a promise. You know what I mean? Then when you make an opening paragraph which is very exciting, then you better live up to it. You can't just say, you know, today was the craziest day of my life.
True.
And then you say my toothpaste got over.
So
that's not like, hello, that wasn't the craziest day.
Yes.
So, you know, you have to match it.
Yeah.
It is a story, it is linked, but yes, openings are important.
Foreshadowing.
Yes.
And clue droppings.
Yes.
So do you conceive your plot backward, right? From the end.
It's not always, because I'm not really... People who write suspense novels and detective novels do that more. Three Mistakes is a little more thriller format, but it is... I don't write and think of the story as I go along. I know the story before I write the book. And while I go along, I'll change it a little bit because it's not coming right. But primarily, start to finish, I know I myself have a low attention span. I myself get bored with things very fast. So that's why I like to write. I mean, my own patience is lower than the audience. So I think that's why I'm able to write things that move very fast. And even someone with a very basic knowledge of English, today someone was mentioning, for someone whose English is a second language, they can also enjoy my books. Because for me also it's second language.
Right.
You know?
So, it's your second language.
Yeah,
your native
course.
tongue is
Hindi.
Hindi, right? So what's the magic of learning to write English novels? You know? As English is your second language. Do you read a lot?
Yes, you have to read. You have to communicate a lot. I think a lot of people, especially in small town India when I go, they are not confident in their English. And you know, it's one of those things, people make fun of you when you don't have good English. I don't know if it happens here, but in India it does.
Yes.
And it's funny, it only happens in English. Like if I say I'm not good at physics, nobody's going to make fun of me. Okay, fine, your physics is bad, your chemistry is not so good, I don't know all the periodic table, nobody's going to laugh at me. But if I speak one sentence incorrectly in English and somebody knows, they will laugh at you.
That's the common fear.
And that creates a lot of fear in people, and then they don't say it only. And you have to realize that unless you practice, unless you communicate, unless you make mistakes, you're never going to get better. And if you let a few people laughing at you affect you, then forget English, you will never get anywhere in life. I'm sure people laugh at you all the time when you're doing your radio shows.
Of course, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you have seen what happens to me anyway. So it's okay, it's okay. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you give yourself a challenge. Are you happy? Are you doing your best? And if you're doing your best, you will master the language. It's just a simple language. It's silly, it's nothing much. And then once you start speaking in it, then you can start writing in it. And if you have the talent of storytelling in you, it will come, I feel.
So the three of my life, three
Three
mistakes. I keep
You really want to
misreading
know.
the titles. Now, how autobiographical is this novel?
This is actually
Boy
about another...
dreaming to set up a business.
Yeah, this is links to somebody I know, and like you saw the start of the story, it is me getting a mail from someone who's killing himself because he has made 3 mistakes. So it is someone else's story that I'm telling. In fact, this is going to become a movie now. Half the movie is done already. They're making it now. So this will be the next one. It'll have a different name, but you'll find out.
When is it going to be released?
January.
Next January.
Yeah.
So very much look forward to it.
Yeah, I hope.
Now, for those who would like to raise a question, you've been given the piece of paper by our working staff here, right? So you can jot down any notes, right, or questions, so that our colleague will collect pieces of paper. Dear Mr. Chetan Bhagat, what's the best way for me to break into ERECN, what is it, IBM General? I work for Credit Suisse and Fox as a contributing writer. I hold a Master of Journalism degree from the University of Hong Kong. Thank you and hope you enjoy your stay here. P.S. I have no professional training. Shall I get some qualifications, or MBA jargons?
Oh, I think he's talking about how to get into investment banking. Is that right? I left it, dude. I'm not the best person to ask. Well, if you hold a Master of Journalism degree, I'm not a career counselor, so please do get proper advice from somebody. But I think it's better to do an MBA. If you've written here, should I do an MBA or a CFA? I think do an MBA from a good school, and then you can become from a writer to a banker, right? I became banker to writer. He wants to do the reverse and asking me, but yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah.
Now, this comes from Sofina. Any advice for parenting the next generation, which is exposed to the high technology at a young age and is also much spoiled in the materialistic world?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Who asked this?
Who would like to? Sophia. Yes,
Sophia?
raise your hand. Yes. So you
Okay.
look like,
So do you have
a
kids?
young mother.
You don't
No?
have kids yet, but you're just planning. Okay, that's good. I like it. Do you have a husband to have kids with? You don't even have that, but you want to know how to bring up kids yet. I like this foresight, just prepare. I can tell you something about...
Getting yourself warm up.
Yeah, and maybe she can ask about grandkids also next. Well, but it is a good question because I have kids. I have twin boys who are going to turn 8 next week, and it's something I constantly worry about 2 things. I was born in a very middle class family, so I know the value of money. I know the value of hard work. They are born into a nice home and they don't maybe value it. They just take things for granted. They're born into a house with, LED TVs and computers and everything. They have it all. And the second thing is they are too exposed to gadgets and touch screens and things like that. And that is going to definitely be different from our generation. And how is it going to affect them? And how to bring them out right? So the first one, of course, is not an easy answer. I think kids copy parents a lot. So if you are very materialistic in front of them, and you constantly keep talking about money or material things, they will become like that. But if you talk about other things, they will not become like that. More lecturing won't work. About the second thing, it's very dangerous. The constant apps and touch screens and video games and things like that, because it kills imagination. It just kills the child's ability to visualize and things. So I don't like to regiment things, but we limit it. How much screen time we call it, because it could be a mobile screen, an iPad screen, computer screen, TV screen, video game screen. It's limited to certain reasonable time, maybe half an hour a day of TV or something like that, and once in a week of computer, I don't know, depending on the age of the child. It's very important to limit that and make them read books. Not just because I'm an author, but because reading is the only thing that builds your imagination. It forces you to imagine the story, right? It's forcing you. Nothing else forces you to imagine these days. Everything is given to you. So read, and also reading gives focus. Like you said, people are watching 3-minute videos. Book takes hours to read. If you do read and get into that habit, you will develop focus. So these things must be given by parents. If they don't, and if they say, just give him an iPad, he'll quieten down, then he will or she will not develop those abilities, and that will make them suffer later in life. So just that. And so I hope you will apply this when you find your husband and kids, and when you're bringing them up.
So this question comes from Steve. I like the ending of the film Three Idiots, where the parents accept the dream of the photographer's son. In reality, family pressure and parents' expectation are the big factors that make people give up the pursuit of their earlier dreams. Now, do you have a word of advice to these people?
Yeah, I'm happy you asked that question, because I agree with you. I'm as much a pragmatic person. In a movie, it looks very nice that someone quit the top engineering college to become a wildlife photographer, and in reality, it won't happen. In reality, he'll be lucky to become a wedding photographer, not wildlife photographer. And in the book, that doesn't happen. In the book, he finishes college and then tries whatever he wants to try. In the movie, they did it like that because it looks more dramatic, it looks more heroic to do it. But it's not a practical approach in real life. So I always tell them to have a practical approach. Your passion, whatever it is, make sure you can make a living out of it. So modify it. Maybe it's not going to be 100% your passion, but 80%. And also finish your degree. I always tell middle class kids to finish graduation. Because if you don't finish graduation, you can't fall back on a job, So maybe it's a middle path, I suggest. But yes, that was in the movie, and I'm glad you asked it, because in the book that's not there. That was their choice, and they do that sometimes, for drama.
You talk like as if you were the only writer in India who writes for the mass. So can you name a few contemporary of yours in India who do the same? And question number 2, do you have any plans to get into Bollywood as an actor?
I take that as a compliment. Second part. I'm not, of course, the only popular fiction writer now, and there were some popular fiction writers before I came, but not that known. So I'm not the only one now. There are many. There's someone called Amish. There's someone called Ashwin Changi. There's many Shobha Days. There were some popular writers earlier, but very few. But when I came, after that, it's obviously blossomed a lot, and there are many more now in India. And there's the simplest way is there's a website called Flipkart.com, which is India's Amazon. So there, if you see the bestsellers, you can pretty much see who the other writers are. And becoming an actor and planning to become an actor, I think my age of planning is gone. I am very flattered. Maybe I can be one of those.
Not necessarily. You can try to